And if I need to ride to the polling, and what I vote.
Do they realize your name is McEntee, so you're probably not colored?
Not this right. But,
Yeah.
I don't know how they.
Really?
Yeah, I'll collect them. Yep.
Gotta get on. That's pretty cool, though.
Oh, they're ready?
Yeah. Good.
Oh, the mayor?
I'm wonderful.
Oh, goodness.
I don't see any bullet holes.
Right after Monday night or Tuesday night.
All right, can I fill this out now?
Sure.
Let's get started. 5:45. We need to be out of here by 7.
I move.
So are we doing the oath first?
Yep, you have to do the oath first.
Okay.
I'll have everybody stand up and you have to raise your right hand and then just repeat after me. And then please sign your forms and date them and then turn them back into me. And make sure you have your microphone on.
Right hand, Joe.
My other right one?
Right, left? Okay. I, having been appointed to the office of Golf and Cemetery Board with, in, and for the city of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, and you can read off of your things.
All together.
Yep, just repeat it back, but insert your name.
I, Brian
Right,
Johnson,
Joe,
have been appointed to the office of Golf Course Cemetery Board within the Lake City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Do you
I
sound?
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, and the ordinances of the City of Mitchell, and that I will faithfully and impartially, to the best of my knowledge,
Perform all the duties of the office of Superintendent Report.
Thank you.
You didn't take out Parks and Recreation on that?
Oh. That's okay, I'll change it on all of yours. You can go on ahead and sign them.
What's the date? 11?
11.
Well, daughter's birthday. She didn't forget. Dad, you know it's my birthday? No, I forgot.
26?
Yep.
If she hadn't close. All right. Any public input? No public input. What are delegations?
A delegation would be if you have somebody from the public that requests to specifically be put on the agenda for a matter other than at public input. Public input is limited to 3 minutes.
None.
They would contact either the board president, Jeff, Jason, or Nathan or me, and I would clear it with Nathan, and then they'd be added onto the agenda. And then at that point, when a delegation comes on, they stand up, they address you, they state what they're here for. You listen, you can ask questions, but you take no action at that time. Then when you get down to the additions and the deletions, if the delegation has brought something up that you want to discuss further or potentially put on the agenda for the next month, then you would add it to the agenda under the additions, and it would go under new business where it could then be discussed.
That is an excellent explanation.
Uh-oh. You gotta swear by herself.
Oh, yeah.
You could do it right now in front of us.
Yeah. Don't sit down, you gotta stand up, hold your right hand up and swear.
Did you change it on there?
I do?
And read
I
your,
swear, what do you want me to say?
read
Read your paper.
You have to talk into the microphone, and then right here where it says Park and Recreation, just say Golf and Cemetery Board, but just read that.
The whole thing?
Yep.
Okay. I, Lynette Shedek, have been appointed to the Office of Golf and Cemetery Board within and for the City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of South Dakota, and the ordinance of the said City of Mitchell, and that I will faithfully and impartially, to be the best of my knowledge and ability, perform all the duties of the Office of Park and Rec Board and Golf and Cemetery Board.
Thank you. And then you just sign that and date it, and I'll take it.
Okay.
Very well done.
Thanks.
That's one reader of them all.
By far.
Yeah, that's what you get for coming in.
All right. Any additions or deletions? I assume there's none there. And approval of the minutes from the December 14th meeting.
I just want to add on the minutes that we did put the edits on that first paragraph that was requested by the board.
Got that. Thank you. Brian?
I'll second.
Terry, second. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Approval of bills, cemetery revenue and expenses.
I can go into as much detail as you'd like as we go along. Just give me direction as we go, and I'll be happy to just go through each page if you'd like.
As minimal detail as possible.
We can just say, you guys can ask questions if you have any.
Perfect.
All right. Do you have any questions on the bills?
I do not. Anybody?
I do not.
Okay. So we need a motion to approve those then, or is that just informational?
No, motion approved.
Okay. Need a motion to approve the bills.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Joe, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Any old business? Good, we're flying. New business, clubhouse report.
That would be me. I put in the clubhouse report, I finished up my Christmas sale that I do downtown. If you do look back on some of the golf course side of the revenue financial report, membership fees in December took in $4,486, took in, I think, about two full memberships, and then a couple that paid towards guys' memberships for the 2021 golf season. Also, some gift certificates were sold for the 2021 golf season for golf cart range. Punch cards, I'm in the process of tentatively putting together a schedule, talk to Jason about it for the 2021 season for tournaments, events, see where we're going with everything from fundraisers and all that coming up here for this year, if those fundraisers are going to be having their tournaments, and then coordinating with Jason so that it doesn't conflict with work time and everything with that, with back-to-back dates of tournaments and stuff. So at the February meeting, I'll have a tentative schedule for tournaments and events for 2021. Then I'll be moving my inventory back into the clubhouse here leading up to basically March, see what the weather does and everything. And then also on the clubhouse report, just for your information, you've already had these numbers and stuff, but the end of the year rounds played. So when we closed up in November, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago almost now, final membership numbers for 2020, and then punch cards, how many there were there. Any questions on that side of things?
Opening the course Wednesday?
Yes. What is it? 15?
Jason's shaking his head. Oh.
Going back to like the financial side of things, we were at 423 last year, 422 this year. So, I mean, decent year. Obviously, what was down was the tournament fees with all those tournaments not happening. But everything else looked good. Questions, comments, concerns?
How are they getting their memberships now? Are they coming down here, or?
So if they need a membership, I have Andrew at IT here in, City Hall. He just has call forwarding. So if they call the golf course, it goes to my cell phone, then I meet up with them out at the course, or they can stop, I guess, at Jason's office there too to get a membership. He can contact me if they want a gift or something. But I mean, most people now will wait till we get opened up in the spring to get our memberships now, since we don't bill out memberships or anything.
Yeah.
So, but ever since Christmas, I mean, now nobody gets their memberships really.
Yeah.
Till we open back up, so. But they do have the option, just call the golf course and they'll go to my cell phone to get a hold of me, so.
Okay.
That is all I have for clubhouse report.
Motion to approve the clubhouse report.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Brian? Joe? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Superintendent report.
Our building that we had replacing the old office has arrived. We're gonna build some shelving units and a little bench in there, a little bit of electrical work to make it functionable. And then after that's done, we're gonna place a couple golf carts in there to make some more room in our other building so we can wiggle a little bit. The tree right behind it, we were really hoping to keep that. It was not a bad tree, but we were seeing some signs of decay in the crotch of it. Glad we cut it down because we notched the one side and barely put the loader on the other side, and all of a sudden, shoop. So it was probably a good thing we decided to.
Those branches wouldn't reach over to the maintenance shed though, would it?
Not quite.
Poor planning.
Yep. We ended up the year fairly slow. We went a couple weeks there where we were getting a little concerned. The consensus is kind of that we might have a busy summer with cremation burials. A lot of people just have them sitting on the shelf waiting for nicer weather, so we'll see if that comes to fruition or not. We've been in contact with the contractor for the rehabilitation of the infant section monument wall. That's been deteriorating. Hopefully this next week or so, he'll be stopping out, Joe Williams, to see what his thoughts are and what it would take to rehabilitate that. We're getting together pricing on mapping for the cemetery and cemetery expansion, getting some thoughts and ideas and pricing so we know where to go forward on that. It's only been a few snow events for 2020, so we've been saving on labor and everything. Equipment maintenance has been underway as time permits. I've had one seasonal start on the 5th of January. He's been working in the shop last week and this week. Been big help. We'll be sending reels out to get outsourced to alleviate being short that extra position. This will cost about $5,000 to $6,000. We'll be rebuilding one set of reels. They can only be ground so far, and then they need to be replaced. So, that mower that I went to Whispering Creek to look at a couple weeks ago, I talked to some of you about it. anyways, they are gonna move forward with that, and we're waiting for, I agreed to that for 30,000. So I'm waiting to get a bill on that to move forward on that. Been in contact with, I guess we're gonna have a discussion a little bit later on the project, so I'll leave that alone until later. Been just taking a lot of time to evaluate planning projects, evaluating equipment, getting ready for next year. And then I just want to say I appreciate all the support that this department has had, and can't wait for next year. So we'll talk about the rest of that here coming up.
Any questions about that?
I walked by that building yesterday. That does look nice.
It is a very nice building. The building itself cost us a little over 10. We took the overhead wire coming over to there and buried that, and we took instead of having two separate meters, we eliminated the one on the shop, and it's over there, so that was a little bit of a cost there. And then, so all said and done, it's going to be a lot more usable than the other building, and if we decide down the road we don't like that place for it,
You can move it.
we can move it, so.
Yep.
But yeah, it is very well built. I'm very happy with it, so.
Looks nice.
Yep. And we did the siding to match the front of the newer office, so it's almost identical to that same color and everything, so.
Motion to approve the superintendent's report.
I move.
Terry?
Second.
Lynette? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, request to approve the 2021 fees.
Okay, I'll just quickly go through the charts for you. This is just historical charts that we put together to help you make decisions on fees. The golf course, we'll start with the golf course here. There's only 1 year that, and this does not include any capital projects, this is just operating costs. There's only 1 year that the operating costs were higher than revenue, and that was, I think, 2017 there. There's your cost recovery. You're almost always above 100%, except for that 1 year. This is more detailed report right here of your full-time, I'm going to pull my mask down, your part-time, full-time, and capital projects, and your golf expenditures here. You can see the yellow ones here that were high. Those were probably golf carts. That's what I'm thinking. And then the orange, again, you can see how your part-time staff kind of has fluctuated over the years, but it's pretty level. Full-time staff, same issue there, pretty level. And this year with the payout, it didn't really affect it too much there. So the cemetery, again, would be the opposite. Your revenue would be lower than your expenses. The city offsets some of the costs there, as you would expect. The cemetery, full-time, part-time staff, capital projects are all in there. Again, your part-time staff runs a little bit higher here. On paper, it's about 2.5 full-time for the cemetery and 1.5 for the golf course. Again, you can look at your part-time there in the light blue. I'm sorry, it would be the red right there. Would be your part-time, and again, that's stayed pretty level down here for quite some time. And then expenses, obviously, minus staff, that would be the light blue right there. So you can see the expenses generally, as we expect, go up. Same with staffing levels. we expect those to rise over time. This is both departments again, kind of showing you how close you are with revenue and expenses. Cost recovery over the years has been over 100% many times. Since 2013, it pretty much started dropping below 100% and closer to that 80% mark. But we've been on the rise the last couple of years. And then this is the whole department, a little better view. You can see your full-time staff budget continues to increase. Part-time is a little bit more level. And then your yellow would be your capital projects that you've done at both divisions throughout the years. And I think that's all. If you have any questions for me, otherwise I'm going to hand that over to Jason to talk about the fees.
So a few of us got together and discussed this ahead of time. Just to, first me and Eric discussed, and we got what we thought, and then a smaller group got together and hammered that out a little more, so hopefully this is fairly painless. So for 9 holes, we went from $18 to $20, 18 holes, 28 to 30. Youth 9, we went up $2 for both 9 and 18. Carts, we went up $3 in each category for 8, 9, and 18 holes. Range buckets, we went up $1 each to $4 and $6 for the large bucket. The 10 bucket, we went up, basically we went 10 buckets times $6 and took off a bucket. So they get 1 free bucket. Or is that 2 free buckets, Eric? That'd be, oh, yep, 1. For the 25 bucket, we went, same thing, went $25 or 25 buckets times 6. We did have a little higher than that, but the group agreed to lower a little more because of the single range membership was getting a little too close to that number, is what the group decided. So that's why that was at that. The 9-hole punch card it just went off of what our new fees are minus two rounds, basically, is how we come up with that number. With and without the golf cart. The senior rate we left alone. The twilight rate we raised by $2. Somebody wants to stop and discuss something, just holler. The tournament fee, the only things we changed there was we went from, for the tournament entry, went from $10 to $15. And that's if they are part of the sponsorship fees. You guys do not have that, but so there's a sponsorship fee, and then the shotgun fee, and then if they are going that route, then there's a $15 per person fee. So then if they are not part of that bigger tournament and it's a smaller group, then we just raise that by $2 for 9 and 18 holes. So for the 18 holes, it went from $31 to $33. For 9 holes, it went from 19 to 21. And the only one we changed for the cemetery was actually a new fee for setting a granite ledger of $250.
When we looked at this, we wanted a small group to get together because we weren't able to do it in December. Normally, when we do the fees, we do that in December, finalize in January, but we weren't aboard then, so we decided to meet to kind of flush things out. It's still open for discussion, and if anybody wants any input, please feel free. No.
Membership.
Memberships we're leaving alone. What we did is we looked at when's the last time we raised these particular fees, and they were 2018 was the last time that they were adjusted. And We also did a comparison of existing municipal courses in the area, same size, makeup, and make sure we're competitive, and which we are. We're still competitive, even at these rates. But we left memberships alone. We raised memberships last year, so we're leaving those alone.
I can add that the red line includes tax, and those would be your actual costs, your actual fee before tax.
And another reason for leaving memberships alone is just the thought of just raised them last year, but then also we had a lot of new people come in, people that haven't golfed for a while, and new people coming back to golf that hopefully with everything going on, it encourages them to get a membership. So thinking that next year we'll look at raising memberships again.
Last year we did punch cards and everything. Punch cards, where you can see it on there, 2019, it was $170, we went up $5 and $10 on punch cards. Those are a part of the membership fees, basically. But since we're increasing the 9-hole and 18-hole green fee rates, punch cards have to almost go up to match what our daily fees are with our punch cards. Does that make sense, Joe? Yeah. So we didn't touch the memberships, we did the punch cards just because our daily fees are going up. So if we would have left them the same, they would have been getting. Well, I knew we raised more than just the membership. Yeah, we didn't touch any green fees or any youth carts. Carts have been the same for 5-6 years now. Range we haven't touched. We touched the range memberships. The single we went from 125 up to 150 last year. In the family range we went from 150 up to 200 last year, but those weren't touched, just the daily range fees of per bucket for 30 balls from $3 up to $4, and then the large 50-ball bucket from $5 to $6. So basically the intent was to basically change the rates of the daily fees, since those haven't been touched in a few years. The only ones that were touched last year, or were changed last year, were the membership fees last year. And like going down, if you are confused on the tournament fees too, that the tournament entry fee per player, like Jason said before, the bigger fundraisers, corporate sponsored tournaments have a tournament sponsor fee to have their name on a flyer with Lakeview Golf Course on it. We charge them a sponsorship fee, a shotgun fee, and a per player entry fee that does not include carts. Those 18-hole small and corporate business outings, that's like, say, Graphic Packaging has an employee outing, Innovative Systems has an employee outing. They want to include the cart, so that $15 tournament entry fee per player does not include cart. The $33 for 18 holes for corporate business outings includes cart. The $21 for 9-hole corporate business outings includes the cart. Where most of those, like fundraiser tournaments, like John Paul II, Avera, Mitchell Christian, they pay for their golf cart, each player separately on their own. Where these corporate business ones want to pay the bill themselves through the business, they just include everything for them. If you're following what I'm saying with it. Like Jason said, I mean, these fees compared to other municipal golf courses around the area, this isn't including like any of the Gray Life courses in Sioux Falls. This is mainly Broadland, Caddo Crossing, Watertown. I mean, we're still somewhat on the daily fees towards the lower end on stuff. Most golf courses now, I'd say 18-hole cart per person is about $20. We're still a little lower than other golf courses, but some of them we're even with too, we're not way over the top. Say that again?
10 buckets of ball, 25 buckets of ball. From $30 in 19, we changed it to 45, and we changed it to $54 now.
I think that would be because in 2000, we might have missed this, in 2018 maybe, we only had one size of bucket. And then we increased it, or we had a small bucket of 30 balls and then a large bucket of 50 balls. And we raised the large bucket up to $5 and made a smaller bucket of 30 balls. That's why in 2019 to 20, we raised the price, 'cause I'm pretty sure there, we went to the two different sizes of buckets. I don't know, Dan, when you were there, did you have one size bucket? One size. Yeah, somewhere along the line there, in 2018 or 19, we added the 30-ball bucket, smaller range bucket in there, and made a larger bucket, increasing the larger bucket prices. Therefore, increasing the 10 buckets and the 25 buckets, because each of those passes are all large buckets of balls, the 50-ball buckets. So that would be the increase from there.
Out of the 10 buckets, I used to charter them every year. Probably 20% don't get used. Over 50% of the buckets don't get used in the 25 buckets. But how many did you sell last year, Eric?
45 of the 25 buckets, and maybe 10 of them, 15 of them got all used.
But that's basically by the membership.
And then as far as the comparison to other golf courses, just a real quick tidbit, Brandon Valley was the only one that was significantly more than what we are. Otherwise, as far as municipal golf courses, we were kind of right in there with everybody. But Brandon Valley, with their proximity to Sioux Falls and the market over there, they can kind of do what they please, so.
The adjustment on the range, in my opinion, the range should pay for itself. I mean, if we're gonna have newer balls or rotating those in, that income should come from, I mean, it should become closer, if not pay for itself with the fees that we're charging. And we're awful close to it. And we've got pretty good quality balls now, so, but they are getting expensive.
What's the lifespan of a driving range ball?
Oh, boy.
What was that?
You lose 500 dozens a year.
Oh, wow.
Between, most of them are cut.
Between,
Speed up, they sit in the sun.
we replaced
How many
the,
by last year?
I believe about 9,000 balls. We did 2 different batches, and a lot of it was because some of the old ones that we had were delaminating. So, I mean, they were just junk, and between that, unfortunately, people just taking them, putting them in their bag and hitting them around the golf course, whatever, getting driven into the ground as they're getting picked when it's really wet, and mowers cutting them, whatever. People hitting them from the tee box over into the pond. I've had to yell at a few people for that. So, yeah, it's just nature of the beast. It's a constant replenishing of it, and it's just a matter of, that machine holds 19,000 golf balls. So if I remember right, I believe I didn't order them, so I believe the first batch was 9,000, and I think the second batch was 5,000 golf balls that we ordered last year. And that was to kind of replenish the whole supply because of the quality that we had at the time. So, and as we added them and we sent them through the machine, we were taking them out whatever was cut, blemish, delaminating. It's a constant every time they go through the machine. They're getting sorted as best we can. So.
A lot of balls.
Well, and the really scary part about it, I mean, it's a good thing, is how fast sometimes that machine gets depleted. So, it's a good problem to have, but sometimes it's like, really, again? So, I mean, it's just one of those things, so.
I use that range a lot. I've never ran out of, or never had an empty bucket.
At the other golf courses I've ever been at, I've never seen a range use this well, so. But I think it's the easy accessibility from the parking lot. They don't necessarily have to go into the clubhouse, I mean, unless they're buying an individual bucket, so.
Probably the biggest range tee box in, I would say, the state, maybe anywhere that I know.
Yep.
How big the range tee box is, you put a lot of people on there.
Any more input on,
So just to clarify, the only thing that's going up at the cemetery is that bottom. I mean, opening, closing, we're not raising.
We left everything else alone.
Okay.
Yep.
What is that granite ledger?
So in the base underneath the stone, either that,
Prefab?
what's that?
Prefab, or you pour it out there?
The granite?
Granite.
Granite's granite.
Granite's granite.
That's the cement over it.
Yeah.
I was thinking,
Most of them, most of them now are concrete, but there are some granite. So.
We have any idea in servicemen's if they're going up, or have we heard? No
I
idea.
don't think so.
Okay.
Don't think so. We have not heard that, but
I haven't heard.
they're their own entity, so I mean,
Yeah.
they could.
anything else on the fees? Motion to approve the fees for 2021.
So moved.
Barry?
I'll second.
Lynette? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're set. Future golf cart replacement options.
Just for your FYI, the current golf carts, we're hoping another year or two on them. So I did some calling on traded value and pricing on current carts. And I was pleasantly surprised by the trade-in value, so wasn't quite expecting that much. So a new golf cart comparable to what we have now would be $4,500. A little bit of an upgrade with better suspension, a lot quieter, $4,975. For municipal fleet, rental cart fleet, I don't know if there's really a reason to go up to that upper one, but trade-in value they gave me of $2,400 to $2,550. I was not thinking it would be that much, so like I said, this is kind of an FYI. I think moving forward that I don't know if we should wait 2 years. I think if we can get that kind of trade-in value, we should be going after it for next year. So
How many years have we had these carts now?
this will be the 8th. They came in July of 13.
A little better, 50%.
There's 48 of them, so at the high end of that trade-in value would be about $100,000. So it's a big chunk of money, but they're one thing that they pay for themselves. Right now, mechanically they're doing all right. We need to replace some batteries, tires, do some alignments, some cables that tend to break. As anything, the older they get, the more wear they get. The paint's starting to chip a little bit. We got seats that are starting to tear. It's just, what do we want to present as an image? So you kind of got to balance that. Could you make them go a couple more years? Yeah. But if we can get that kind of trade-in value, now is probably the time. So.
You want to replace the whole fleet rather than half of it?
There again, it's kind of that image type of thing. What do you want to present as and if you only have half of them brand new, everybody's going to want to try to take that new one and not use the old one. So we discussed this the other day when the small group met, and it was discussed maybe holding on to an extra 5 of the ones if we do, or when we do trade them in, maybe holding on to about 5 of them for big events. So that's a possibility too. So this was just a FYI. I wanted to let you know what I found out, and not necessarily need a. What's that? Is this who we do business with? Yes, this is Yamaha golf carts. They're actually, I don't know why, but Yamaha actually sells out of Sioux Falls now. But I think that was done since this deal was made in 13. This place is actually out of the city, well, Burnsville.
Buying theirs from Minneapolis because they didn't have a franchise.
Yeah.
And then they had to go through Minneapolis to sell them. So you didn't have no option if you wanted to go direct rate.
So,
I didn't know if there's other people in this business or not.
is that 4,500? I mean, if we replace them all, I mean, we get a better deal, wouldn't we? If we replace them all or not?
I didn't get that far. I was just more of an informational type thing.
Well, I mean, for all we know,
I'm gonna guess if you get 20 of them or 24
I
of
think
them,
you get a better.
I'm gonna guess it'll probably be that same.
Okay.
So I didn't ask the question because I wasn't trying to get to the nitty-gritty. I was just,
Sure.
where are we at? So,
So you really not dealt with them, I mean, other than discuss.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
been no deals made.
No deals made, nothing. It was, right now, we're looking at replacing the batteries in the current carts, 17 tires, because they're bald, 5 seats, and a couple cables, and that right now is about $5,000. So we're sticking $5,000 into carts that hopefully in a year's time are going down the road. So I guess.
When Jason called me about this, he said, I did some research and found that these carts, the value of these used carts, I said, write a check right now. For $100,000, we get a whole fleet. We take in 90 a year on cart rentals. We could have them paid for in a year and a quarter or less. I mean, it's like, you just don't see that. And I'm hoping, I said, just go write a check. He said, that's not the way the city works.
We'll take your donation. I would have the mayor write the check.
Well, I'm assuming that's why he's here, to present us with the check.
I'm here to make sure you don't do this when I go into the property.
So hopefully the value will stay similar for next year, but to me, it's an absolute no-brainer to replace that fleet at that price. Well, we got.
Before Kevin retired, we were thinking 2 years, but I think get through this year. I mean, let's put in for 2022 because 2021 set, but that time, that budgeting process is coming before we know it. So that's kind of why I brought it up now, because it'll be coming before we know it. So.
Depending on how we end the year, we might be able to do something this year, I don't know. We'll have to look, we can certainly come in and talk to us.
And right now, I mean, we do have some, that cash is there, not that it would pay for that, but if we can go in and say, we got 20 grand that put forward towards it, maybe something could be done now.
It's hard to walk, look away from that, literally 50%.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, that's unheard of.
yep,
Usually they got almost 0%.
Oh, yeah.
Financing for 3-year payments, to work into your budget. Depends on what their year's at, if they're got inventory stock. But,
can we do that with, if we set up a payment deal with them and, you know, depending on how we ended up on the end of the year, if they had a 0% or some incentive like that, could we put money towards it and?
Let's see, you might be able to, we'd have to check with the legal department, make sure.
Sure.
The other thing you have to do is, when you price them, because of the amount, you're gonna have to get more than one.
Right.
You'll have to open it up,
Just-
and I don't know if there is others. That makes golf carts and fees still enough.
yeah.
Club cars is still in Hendrickson.
Yeah, basically, there's Club Car, Easy Go, and Yamaha.
Okay.
This would be a biddable project, wouldn't it? It would have
But,
to go to bid.
yeah, the other side of it is, you're gonna wanna get something for the ones you got.
Yep. But that can be built into the bid.
Yep.
That's correct, yep.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I think if you get that or more than that, if you did take trade-in and you priced out them, for people come in and bid, used golf carts went through that were 1,500 buys used about 4 tires and a piece of junk. And,
Well, that,
you know, the other way would be to, you wanted to, have bids on used ones and get, unless that's a cash price, you might get it cheaper than that trade-in. Maybe more expensive, I don't know how golf carts work.
why don't you,
Well, keep in mind, if you're doing this through the city, you'd have to be declared surplus, which people think you're gonna get a deal through the city.
It has to go to auction, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
if you sold them, we tried to sell them ourselves.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we have to talk to Justin about it, but yeah, typically it would have to be declared surplus, then it would be auctioned off. Of course, everybody comes up thinking they're gonna get one for $50.
and you might get a decent price on 10 of them, and the other 38, you get not as much, so.
Well, why
Yeah,
don't-
we can check with Justin tomorrow and find out if there's another option, or, you know, as we go before your next meeting, that's no problem.
Sure. Well, Jason, why don't you do some more digging and see how firm you can get on these numbers?
Okay.
And, maybe talk to them and see how willing they are to deal.
Sounds like
Will do.
Sounds like you gotta get a hold of a couple other companies to get
Yep.
a competitive bid.
Yep. I'll nail down the process with Nathan, and we'll get something figured out, see what we can do.
Okay. Discuss design option for greens projects.
So I've been in discussion, I've talked to 3 different architects and a construction company that has their own designer in staff. I basically just kind of talked to them about what we're looking at, kind of getting a number on their pricing, for just designing the 2 greens or a master plan. The master plan has actually been a little more reasonable than I thought it would be. Looking at somewhere between 15 to 25,000 on a master plan, depending on how in detail we want to get it. To get a basic master plan with really no plans per se, it's on that lower end per se. It's more of a say that, priority list. So the architect would come in and he would tour the facility. He will talk to myself, Jeff, Eric, maybe a couple other golfers, Councilman Nathan, whatever, and see where the needs and wants are, and then he'll make suggestions on what he sees, and then he'll write a report on way he sees. He'll evaluate ways that we can speed up play, so increase speed of play, so we can increase revenue. He'll look at the whole operation. So, and then so that's the smaller part of it. And then if we decide we want these 2 greens designed, then it'll be about that 16 to 20,000. So.
And I mean, you can add to that. I mean, if you want them to look at your fees and look at what you're charging, see if that's competitive, you can go as far as you want on those.
And they will do, and so what I talked to them about, were our major concerns were, there was a couple greens that we were looking at, tee boxes, bunkers, drainage, and then trees. I told them that's where our priority list is. So, and each one of them that I've talked to, we've gotten on Google Maps, and first I had a short conversation with them, and they jumped on Google Earth and looked at the facility, and then they called me back, and we had a short conversation on. That way I could explain a little more on kind of the scope of it. And I think just talking to them, the way it would work is probably close to spring, whoever we decide we want. They'll come on site early spring, do a tour of the facility, then we'll decide how far we want to go. Do we not even want to bother with the master plan, or do we want to do, just do the 2 greens designs, and we could go as far as, all right, we want these 2 greens redesigned, we want all the bunkers, we want X, Y, and Z tee boxes designed, and then they'll give us the design, then we can stretch that out as far as we want, because we'll have the designs, and then we can, when it comes time for construction, if we want a construction company to do it, we put it out for bid at that point, and so. The one construction company that I talked to, they built the one golf course I was at. I talked to the architect from that golf course I was at. One of the other architects I talked to, he's out of Chaska, Minnesota. I've never worked with him, but I've talked to multiple golf courses that have worked with them in the area. So I had discussions with multiple superintendents that they've done everywhere from a big master plan to basically a totally revamp to a couple greens. So Elmwood, Brookings Country Club, Cattail Crossings in Watertown, Baker's Crossing I've talked to, just to kind of get a general idea of what their thoughts are on their process that they went through, their experience with that architect and everything.
Yeah, so Jason would be looking for any input, I guess, on direction here for master plan versus just focusing on 2 greens. Master plan could include tree canopy or any of the items that he mentioned. It would be a public engagement process where you have the public come in and give their input as well to help guide it. So it's really up to the board, and I think Jason's just looking for direction to bring something back probably next month.
Yeah, that is planning on next month of actually presenting 3 or 4 proposals, and then it'll be my recommendation. So,
I like the concept of going this route and having somebody come in, as long as they're providing or the opportunity for input from us and from the golfers and the public. I think it's a good way to formalize the projects and put expenditures with them. And then we can delineate out what we want to do over a 5 or 10-year period, whatever is within reason to do. And they're in the business of doing it. We can say that we want to revamp 11 Pond and do all these changes. We don't really have an idea what that's going to cost to do that. And they may have other ideas for changing the course too and making it better. And I just think structurally, and I think it's a good way to move forward with having an outside input, using our own local input as well into that process.
The master plan covers the whole course. Yeah, you read the plan.
so well, it's not a, you got 2 options, either, one of them told me he has a mini master plan and a full boat-loan master plan. The mini master plan is basically, they'll give you a map of the golf course, and there's going to be bullet points and suggestions on what should or should not be done. That does not include actual design work. You want design work on all the greens and all the bunkers and all the tees. That's, I mean, the dollar amount's just going to keep on rising.
Yeah.
Every green you do, everything you do is going to just start adding up. Now, if you start doing 2 greens, all the bunkers, half the tees, obviously per section, that dollar amount's going to get a little bit less because they're doing more work, and it's not going to be as, but that total dollar amount's going to be getting up there. So it just, that's why I say, the way I look at it is probably doing that smaller master plan where everybody agrees on what needs to be worked on, but there's not necessarily the plans on each of those pieces. So,
but that's where we would provide our input.
Yep.
That this is the route we want to go.
Yep.
Then they can take it and then develop the plans and figure out what the cost is going to be.
And just because we decide we want plans on these 2 greens right now, in a year or 2 years down the road, he has the topos, he knows the project, everything. We can call him and say, we want plans on all the bunkers, or we want this tee and this tee, or whatever. So,
We could bring an itemized list next month, and you can pull things out or add things, like if you wanted a business plan involved, but you could just pull that out if you're saying, we don't need that right now. But he could have some costs on a full master plan, and then we can kind of itemize it and say, this is what we want to focus on, and this is the direction we want to go.
Well, plus it'll help for budgeting purposes in
Yep.
the future. And if we do need to go to the well at any point in time, it'd be nice to have a structured sheet of this is what we're looking at this year, this year, this year, and being able to say we can do these or not.
yep. And so right now we have 52,000 right now. If we spend 16,000 on design work or master plan, whatever, and then we know what we need to, because we will have the price, what it costs to build this green or this green. So
We'll only get that price if we do the master plan.
he will give estimates on like this or that, but he will not, unless if we do an actual plan per green or tee box or bunker, that's the only way you're going to get true costs, because there'll be quantities and a timeline and all that.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was my understanding that initially we were looking at doing 2 greens.
Yep.
Now we're looking at doing 2 greens and a master plan and this and that. I agree with Jeff. I think the master plan is great to have.
Yep.
But that doesn't get us closer to getting those 2 greens done in a timely manner.
Yep. Well, right now, we do not have enough money even to do 1 green,
Well, I mean,
so.
but the plan was, I mean,
Yep.
we initially were looking at basically doing it all in-house on 1 green.
Yep.
And, you know, through the process, it came up that we had to come up with a design.
Yep.
Okay, now we are looking at going into it from a design standpoint, but all of a sudden now we've got to include a master plan. We don't have to, but I mean,
Yep.
that is an option.
Yep.
But it's just slowing up the whole process from, I mean, do you understand what I'm trying?
I totally understand where you're coming from. I guess there's 2 ways of thinking about it is, and I'm not totally against what you're talking about. I mean, we absolutely could just say we want a design done on 1 or 2 greens. We could say we want a design done on 1 green, and that would keep us closer to being able to build that 1 green. So say it's $4,000 to design 1 green. So we take 52 minus 4, we're at 48. It's going to cost 75. We're that close. So I guess that's part of why I'm asking, giving you guys options. What direction do you want to head? I mean, is this something you want to pursue or not? Do we want to just design 1 green? Then if we have kind of a plan for the whole course, not designing for each piece, but if there's priorities and we got the next projects for the next 5 years, we at least know it's going to cost this much. So,
It'll help you budget as well.
yeah.
I think what you're talking about here, and Jason, is an overall master plan. You have certain areas you know you want to do. These guys will come in and give you a master plan and prioritize things that they see that should be done, right?
Yep.
And then from that, you can work out what you would need to budget for going forward. It can be that you can start with the first 2 greens or whatever you have, but these guys will give you an idea of what you should be looking at, how you can do things better in the course. Right?
Yep. And I mean, or again, I mean, a person can do just the greens design now and go back at a later date and do the master plan, but at least if you do it all up front, the cost is going to be a smaller dollar amount if you, because every time you bring them back, it's going to cost you more. So,
Yeah, because you pay for their travel times while coming out, and
Yeah.
that's part of it. So every time they come out to look at it and they go through the public process, that costs money each time. But if you do it all at once, another thing on a timeline factor, it'd be good if you got started, after next month's meeting, so we can get this done before budget this summer. So you have some budget items to go after for 2022.
Because to address what you were saying too, is when we set that amount for those greens, that was gonna be work done in-house, and that's just not feasible the way it stands right now because of staffing and equipment.
Oh, I understand that, but
We can
Now
still
we're-
design them.
it's mushrooming into
Yep.
way more than, and, the one thing we've got to keep in mind, right, Ronan, you're indifferent, is we can't do everything
Right.
at once, simply because we're going to lose membership, we're going to lose players out of the course. It just can't be done. I mean,
And when Jason and I were talking about this the other day, that came up, and I'm like, well, we've had this 11 and 12 green on the books since I've been on the board, we've been talking about it. And and just looking at this concept of this master plan and being able to feed those items into that plan, we might lose a year. I mean, we might not be able to do that like as quick as we want. But long-term, I think we can prioritize those, and those can be the first things that we do once we get the projects identified. But like when we sit around as a group, or Dan and I having a cup of coffee, we both have different ideas on what we should do with the course. I want lots of bunkers, Joe doesn't want any bunkers, you know, and.
Well, they always told me the bunkers probably cost more in maintenance than me.
Yeah. I agree, but we spin our wheels, is what I'm getting at on these projects, and without being able to formalize this, and not only as a group here, but with our fellow golfers, that this company, I assume, will take into account that. We can throw anything we want at them. But moving forward, we'll be able to identify these things and have it set in stone, instead of, well, we've got $52,000 to do a $75,000 green. That doesn't work. We can't do it. We don't have the money to do it. But at least now we know that the green's going to cost $75,000 per green, that each year we're going to have to budget that amount of money to get those projects done.
This year.
Right.
Next year it might be $95,000.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, we might have to redo the whole irrigation system, or the pumps, or who knows what it might be. It could be anything. But I think this is a good way of formalizing it, moving forward, and this is our roadmap going ahead.
I like that idea too, of having the master plan. I know we can't do everything at one time for several reasons, but I think it's nice for future, you know, as we've been talking about doing things and making a plan for future renovations or future golf course changes, that would be a good thing.
I was the one that kind of brought up that, you know, I like the pond on 11. You know, I think that'd be gorgeous, but it'd be expensive. And when we're on that side, I also like having them take a look at it, tell us what would be better on 13 and 14. Both for the big hitters, they're drivable par fours, which are neat, but there's no risk involved. There's no sand traps. There's no, you just bang it and whatever you get, you get. You know, as long as they're on the back nine and that side, I'd like to see what they would come up with a plan. You know, I asked Eric if the book was still around. Some guy gave me the 18 best drivable par fours. You know, of course these are high-end courses, but they're gorgeous. You know, some of them were 296, some are 300. You better lay up on some of them at 75 yards, you know, because you're going to get water, you're going to have ponds. I'd like to see what they would come up with, you know, for different ideas. You know, that one tree comes down on 14, you know, that dies straight at 14, off the deep line, for young guys. Not even okay. But I'd be curious, I think, as long as they could leave enough trees on 11, that pond, if they could dig that out, clean out the rubbish, put in a fountain, but they'd have to leave trees so guys like Eric don't go right at the green. You know, I mean, because you couldn't get the water long enough to make it not.
You have to take trees up on the top, out.
I would guess not, you wouldn't want that.
Well, I mean, to drive and get a straight shot into that green, you gotta probably have some trees taken out.
Oh, you mean because it's going to angle more?
Well, if they're gonna put it back in this corner.
I hope they don't move it much, would be my thing. Not that it'd be goofy golf if you took an L shape, you know. You don't see very many, Amarillo Hills and Okoboji's got 18 of them straight. How many courses you ever play that are 90 degrees? Not very many.
Well, it would be quite 90 degrees.
Yeah, well, I'd be close if you start tucking it. So I hope the green doesn't move much, you know. I'd be curious to see how they would draw it up. And, you know, if they could draw it up and show you, then you could say, oh, I hate that, I like that as a board. I think it's a great idea you come up with.
And like you said, just because they make a suggestion, it's our decision on where we go forward. So.
And they would also help organize the thoughts and all the ideas and put it together, and give something that you know, most people, you know, are going to like. So, and they won't pick on Jason.
You're gonna bring something to the next meeting?
Yes, that was my plan. There'll be a couple options, and then at the next meeting, we can decide either it can all go away, or we can decide to get one or two greens built, or designed, so, up to which direction we want to head, so.
We'll probably bring three firms before you to choose from. That'd probably be the easiest way. And then Jason could give his recommendation of what his best option is and go from there.
I actually received one somewhat proposal here today, so, from one of the guys I talked to, so.
You're a third of the way there.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the group?
You're 5 minutes early.
All right. Next meeting date?
February 8th.
The 9th of February. Oh, 8th of February. And did everybody get the email from Angel on attending, not attending thing? Okay, because there was some confusion, I think, from the beginning that some were replying, some weren't, and it helps to know if we're gonna have a quorum or not, just hit yes or no.
Did all of the, information that was shown tonight get sent out in the packet?
Yeah,
But I didn't get it.
You just,
it's in the email.
You gotta
It's like
click
a
on the
link.
link.
The only email I got was for the meeting. And I ended up, I downloaded, well, it showed to set it to calendar, which I did. And then it gave a site to find this, and there was nothing, none of that stuff that we talked about tonight, did I get?
So if you when you click on the link that was on the email, it took you to the cities, it gave you this, just this blank. Each one of these is a link to what is in here.
Okay.
The easiest way to do this is just tell Angel that you want a packet for the meeting. So they do this to save, I assume save on paper and printing costs,
Yeah, no, that's
but
good to know, Jeff. I
so,
mean,
it took me a minute to figure it out too, because I'm like, whoa,
So here's what mine looks like, the email came in,
Yep.
and then you yes or no RSVP, and you just click right on it, and it brings, you can open up every one of these. It's really nice if you want to study before the meeting,
Okay. Yeah, good. I'm fine.
as long as you got the email.
I got the email.
it's, let the record show that it is 6:57, 58 and a half, and we're adjourned.
Beautiful.
I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to have a